The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Hello, Cherries fans, and welcome back to Cherry Picking for this Cherry Picking special called Cherry O'Brien's, as I'm sure you'll see on the thumbnail and on the titles. And of course, to do this one with me, as always, Jonny Blair's with me. How you doing, Jonny?
Yeah, good. Good to see everyone on there watching us for another time. We are picking our Cherries team this time, as you can tell by the flag and the name, Cherry O'Brien's. This is a Republic of Ireland select from the history of AFC Bournemouth and, of course, the Boscombe days as well, if we have any Irish players from those days. So yeah, we've had a series that started last year. We basically go through all the players that have represented AFCB, and we're categorising them depending on their nationality or the country they played for. We did Northern Ireland first, which is where I'm from, which was, a team with the likes of George Best, Colin Clark, Stevie Robinson in it. Then we moved on. We did Wales, the Welsh team, of course, lots of even some current players, the likes of Mepham and that, in the Welsh team, Brian Stock. And then we did Scotland, which was a good one. The Jocks, Highlanders, the Seasiders. So obviously the likes of Matt Ritchie and Ted McDougall. Today, we'll do the Republic of Ireland. So it's called Cherry O'Brien's. Matt, you know obviously the reason why it's Cherry O'Brien's, don't you?
Yes, I certainly do. Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, if there's some younger viewers out there, we're going back a decade or two, or maybe even more, to when there was a lovely wee Irish pub in Bournemouth, in the city, in the town centre, and it was called Daisy O'Brien's. Now, Daisy O'Brien's was in the pedestrian precinct, sort of near Wilkinson's, if I remember. As you're walking down Christchurch Road, on the corner where Yates is, if you just kept going past Yates's, on the right was Daisy's. There was the Wilkinson there, and then Beale's would have been on your left if you just went past Daisy's. So
right.
For anyone that doesn't know where that is, if you do walk through Bournemouth this week, have a wee look and see if you can work out where that old Daisy O'Brien's Irish pub was. Lovely wee pub. They had Guinness and Kilkenny on tap, lots of Irish whiskey. Sometimes they'd have a bit of live music in there, and a pokey wee pub, like a small bar. Not massive, and yeah, nice place to have a pint back in the day. And unfortunately, it's closed now. So in a good memory of Daisy O'Brien's, our Cherries team is representing, for me, what was the best Irish pub in Bournemouth and Poole area. Certainly, I prefer it to the others, like the likes of O'Neill and the Shamrock that we had. But this was, for me, the go-to Irish pub. So yeah, send us your memories of that. If you want, stick any comments below. If you were in Daisy O'Brien's, or if you bumped into an Irish international, or a Irish backpacker that was visiting from Daisy's. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe, of course, as well, and follow the rest of the pods that we do on here, not just these ones, but of course, Matt and Craig are doing lots and lots of podcasts ongoing.
Yeah, no, we definitely are. And there's also our new show as well called Cherry AM, which is live each morning as well. So if you guys haven't checked it out yet, do give that a look as well. But yeah, there it is, the picture there of Daisy O'Brien's. I do remember the outside of it very well. I do think I went in there a couple of times, to be fair. But like you say, Johnny, we're going back a good decade or so, if not longer, aren't we, on this one? But
Yeah, it's a pity. I think I remember the sort of credit crunch around 2008, 2009. Pubs started to close down, and then COVID even made it worse. So in the last 15 years, we've lost a lot of bars in Bournemouth, Boscombe, and Poole, but hopefully the ones they're open at the minute will stay open. Some have just died. Unfortunately, I used to go to the Portman. Don't know if you remember the Portman. Obviously, yeah. That was a great wee pub pre-match. We'd have our beers in there and then walk across the Dean Court from the Portman. It's gone, but and Daisy's not so much a football pub, but certainly an Irish pub.
Yeah, and like you say, there's not many good Irish pubs around Bournemouth Poole sort of area, so that was definitely the one. I think I would agree with you on that one. But yeah, so let's get on with the show in terms of our selection for the squad. But first, we're just going to touch on a legend. Unfortunately, we haven't picked him, and there's probably a lot of people actually saying that we probably should have done, but we haven't. But he is going to get an honourable mention, and that is Tommy Godwin. Now, Tommy Godwin, he was born on the 20th of August 1927 in Dublin, and he passed away in Bournemouth on the 21st of August 1996. He began his career at Shamrock Rovers, where he caught the eye of Leicester City. While at Leicester City, he was competing with Scotland international John Anderson. He only made 45 appearances before moving to Dean Court in 1952, and he played 357 games over a 10-year period. He played 13 games for Ireland and once for a League of Ireland Select 11, and in 1955 he played for the All-Ireland 11. Johnny, just briefly on this, just before we touch on Tommy, the All-Ireland 11, what was that?
I know that some people watching this might get confused a bit because we've got Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland. So obviously today we've got two international football teams. It wasn't always like that. I don't want to go too deep into the history. Obviously people can research it, but to take you back, let's say when England and Scotland started playing each other in the 1870s, right? So those were the two first international football teams, if you like. So England would play Scotland once a year, and then Wales wanted to join in. So Wales set up a team. So you had England, Scotland, and Wales. And then Ireland set up a team in Belfast. But of course, in those days, Ireland was just one island country, which was part of the British Empire. And actually, at that time, the Belfast IFA, which was called Irish Football Association, just called themselves Ireland because there was no Northern Ireland in those days. So the original All-Ireland team is the one that's actually based in Belfast now, which will confuse people. Bear with me. So we had 4 international teams playing in the British Championships: England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. Yeah, every year play each other. And then in 1921, when Ireland was split into 2 countries, suddenly Northern Ireland had to kind of think about renaming the team Northern Ireland, and the Republic of Ireland didn't have a team at that point. So they set one up called the Irish Free State, which I believe by 1949, so just after the Second World War, was officially then known as the Republic of Ireland team. But both teams had the word Ireland in the badge. So for a few matches, there was an All-Ireland 11 that would have played, and whether it was administered by the Belfast Irish FA or the Dublin FAI, I wouldn't be sure actually on that one. But this guy, Tommy Godwin, played for an All-Ireland 11, which meant that we were selecting players from the whole island. But as an international, Tommy Godwin is from the Republic of Ireland, born in Dublin. So his nationality is Irish from the Republic, but he also did represent the whole island, but not Northern Ireland, if that makes any sense. So, and that All-Ireland 11 doesn't exist anymore. They might do the odd charity game or something for that. I think think there was an Ireland against Brazil match in the 70s. But other than that, the teams don't really mix anymore. It's not a thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for tidying that one up, because I've got a little bit confused there. All Ireland select 11, but yeah, it makes sense.
And then just to add to that, the League of Ireland 11 is totally different, because you don't have to be Irish to play in that. The League of Ireland is you pick the best 11 players in the league. So there might have been a guy from Cameroon playing in it. We'll stick him in the top 11 if he's the best player. So the League of Ireland 11 was just the Irish League's 11. So they had the League of Ireland, Republic of Ireland 11, and the League of Ireland, Northern Ireland, the Irish League 11. So there would have been two of those as well, which I've actually watched them in Belfast playing against the English League, and even I've watched them playing against Manchester United.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah, no, thanks for clarifying all of that. So hopefully everyone's got a bit of a better understanding of that now. And like Jonny said, if not, do look into it a bit further. But back on to Tommy. Now, I actually met Tommy personally. He actually lived at the end of my road when I was growing up.
Wow.
He lived in Charminster with his wife. So yeah, I do remember him from a kid. But in terms of a Bournemouth player, and we touched on this before we came on here, didn't we, Jonny? We talked about the amount of games he's played. Well, I've just double checked. It's actually 357 league games he played for Bournemouth. He actually played a total of 389 games for Bournemouth, and he actually sits 8th in the all-time appearance makers at AFC Bournemouth.
Wow.
8th.
Okay. Brilliant.
He is amongst the names like Steve Cook, Keith Miller, Adam Smith, James Hayter. He's
Steve Fletcher, of course. Yeah.
See at the top, you got Steve Fletcher, Neil Young, Sean O'Driscoll, so and also Ray Bumstead as well. So yeah, he's actually in the top 10 of all-time appearance makers at Bournemouth. So you can see real longevity at the club. But Tommy unfortunately hasn't made the squad for us, but obviously we have got quite a few selections. There's a few here that have just missed out on the squad. I'm sure maybe some of you watching may remember some of these names. If I start with Roy O'Brien. Now, Roy O'Brien, I don't know if anyone remembers from many years ago, a guy called John Sullivan, who was known as Nimbus, was the kit man at one time at the club and done many other jobs at the club. Roy O'Brien was actually living with him, if I remember rightly, while he was down at Bournemouth. He was an ex-Arsenal player who came to Bournemouth. Only made one appearance for Bournemouth before moving on to Dorchester Town, Yeovil, Weymouth, and then he had a second spell at Dorchester Town, quite successful at Dorchester Town. He made well over 150 appearances for them. So that's Roy O'Brien. Then we've got Joe Quigley. Is that a name that rings a bell for you, Jonny?
Yeah, I remember in and around the squad. I wouldn't have known how many actually matches he played. Certainly would have played probably a few pre-season friendlies at least, I would have thought. He ended up at Poole Town though, didn't he? He was sort of quite in and out of the nearby clubs.
Yeah, he's a real journeyman, I would describe him. You're right, he did have a spell at Poole Town, but then he had a lot of loan spells while at Bournemouth. He ended up playing for Torquay, Wrexham, Woking, Gillingham, Newport County, Bourne Wood, Maidstone United, Bromley. He's been about a bit. Then he eventually settled down at the likes of Yeovil Town, where he made 54 appearances, scoring 16 times. Played just over 100 times, I think, for Chesterfield. And his last club, to my knowledge, was Forest Green Rovers. Tommy Keane, he played for Bournemouth between 1985 and 1987. So obviously we know what a talented squad Bournemouth had under Harry Redknapp around that time. He had a youth career at West Ham United. Moved on from Bournemouth, played for Colchester before going back to Ireland with Galloway United. Does that ring a bell? Galway United.
Yeah.
Galway United. So, he played for them, had a career up until sort of the mid-90s, total of nearly 200 games across several different clubs. And finally, Josh O'Hanlon. Now, I do remember him signing for Bournemouth. He was quite, what's the word? Not bigged up, but a lot of potential was said to have had, but I don't think it really materialised at Bournemouth. And he stayed with us for 2 years before moving on. But Bournemouth again had plenty of loan spells. Poole Town being one loan spell out of several, and eventually went on to play for Cork City. So they're the other players that we haven't selected on this one. But whether you may agree, you may not agree, you may think some of these names should have been in our squad. If so, do drop it in the comments and tell us why we should have picked them. But there's two, Jonny, that we haven't picked. We have touched on this briefly before with the Northern Ireland side of things. So I'll just let you quickly clarify this one very quickly, and then we'll move on to who we've picked.
Yeah, obviously don't want to get too political on a football podcast, but Cherries fans out there will remember both of these players because, they played a part in kind of our glory years under Eddie, if you like. I mean, Ewan O'Kane came in, fantastic midfielder, great passer of the ball. I for picking out the man, scored against Wigan in the Cup and has some good memories, ended up at Leeds. With Ewan, he played for Northern Ireland at an under 19 or under 21 level, and then decided to switch to the Republic of Ireland, which is controversial where I come from. And I guess if you're, the likes of the English players that we're talking about, like Declan Rice, Jack Grealish, players that could have played for Republic of Ireland as well, but they chose England. These two did the same in Northern Ireland. They turned their back on Northern Ireland to play for the Republic. So Mark Wilson is not best liked in Belfast. He was born in Northern Ireland. We played for the Republic, and both of them are at the Cherries as well. So for that reason, we've left them out because obviously we don't want to put mixed controversies in. And good luck to the both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. So if you're wondering why you won't see those two names in our squad, then that's the reason why.
And also they're dual because they've been capped by two countries. So it's also a kind of, they didn't make it into either in the end. That's ironic for them because, the caps might have been under 21 level or whatever for Northern Ireland, but the full level for Republic and they're not in the squad.
Yeah. Well, they're not in it, but let's see who is in it. And so similar to last time, we've just at this stage given players squad numbers. And then at the end, we will reveal who we've chosen as our manager. And then we will reveal the first choice 11 that myself and Jonny have decided on. If at any point, you're thinking, why have you selected him? Or you should have selected him, or you agree with our lineup, you don't agree with our lineup, or maybe our manager should have been in the squad and not the manager, whatever, just drop it into the comments and let us know and give us your thoughts and opinions. So let's start off with the number one shirt. And obviously, typically, number ones is goalkeepers. So our first choice takes the number one shirt is Jerry Payton. Cherry's appearances 202, represented Republic of Ireland at under 21 level, B level, and also full level, where he made 33 appearances for the Republic of Ireland. Jonny, I think myself and you and I have both spoken about Jerry Payton before. A legend at Bournemouth.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic to have a keeper of that level when we were in the lower tiers, second and third divisions. I mean, he went to two major tournaments with the Republic of Ireland. He was at Euro 88, Jack Charlton's sort of famous squad. He was at Italian 90. He was the reserve goalkeeper for the Republic because Packy Bonner, if you remember, was their number one.
Yeah.
But for the Cherries, Jerry Payton was our number one. And fantastic keeper, safe hands, steady, never let us down. And And he also moved on in his career as well. And he even played in the Premier League. I don't know if you know about that, Matt. He actually had one appearance, I believe, in the Premier League. Do you know who that was for?
Who was that for? Go on.
It was for Chelsea. Yeah.
Yeah, because didn't he go there as backup keeper at one point?
He was basically a backup keeper for Chelsea. Trying to check. It was 1993. Chelsea had signed Dave Beasant, and he had made a few bloopers, and Jerry Pitton came in. He had one match, and then he was replaced, I think, by Kevin Hitchcock. So yeah, but there you go. So Jerry Pitton, and of course he moved on to Arsenal as a goalkeeper coach as well. You might have seen him wearing the Arsenal shirts and that in the media, and he's still out there coaching. He's been around. So a good lad to have in the squad, and for me, the number one Irish keeper we've got here in the squad. Obviously, there'll be a few more to come.
Yeah, and a Bournemouth legend who will obviously always be remembered for that third division championship winning season. Let's look who we've given our number 2 shirt to, and that is Dave Langan. Dave, who made 20 appearances, was it, for Bournemouth? So not many appearances for Bournemouth, but he did have a fairly decent career, a footballing career, didn't he, Jonny, this guy? But 26 full caps.
Yeah, seems to have been around the block, and a little bit unlucky not to have played in a major tournament. He played as an ever-present in the qualifiers for Euro 88 for Republic of Ireland. So that's Jackie Charlton again. That's Charlton's sort of legacy or era when he was the Irish boss. And this guy, Dave Langan, was at Dean Court at the time. He was our right back, and he was an ever-present in the Republic of Ireland team in the qualifying. But because that was sort of the end of his career, whether he just got injured and didn't get selected again. So his last cap was in 87, and the Republic qualified for the Euros in 88, and he missed out on the squad because, maybe age or injury, and he was, he still had a 9-year international career, which is pretty good for that era. You know, the 80s was a tough era for defenders, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it certainly was. Anybody who's watching, do you remember him playing for Bournemouth? If you do, drop it in the comments. Like Jonny just said there, he played during was it 87 to 88? He played for Bournemouth, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he played in our sort of glory days of the 80s. So he'd have played. Harry Redknapp would have been there, and managing him at the time.
Yeah, no, definitely would have been. So if you remember him in a Cherry shirt, drop it in the comments. Let's have a look at our number 3 shirt. So traditionally, number 3s tend to go to left backs, and there can only be really one person to fill this shirt, and that's of course Ian Hart. He didn't make many appearances for Bournemouth, 35 appearances, coming to the end of his career, but was a great player to have the experience to be that sort of, that experience in the training, on the training pitch, in the dressing room, and a good backup to then Charlie Daniels. But internationally, a very, very good amount of caps, 64 caps. Good eye for goal, Ian Hart, as well. I do remember he was a good set piece taker. And it was a pleasure to watch him in a Bournemouth shirt. But Jonny, this guy just had to be in the squad. Simple as.
Without a doubt. If you think about it, Charlie Daniels was sort of breaking into the team around the time when Ian Hart was there. Charlie Daniels was keeping Ian Hart out of the side.
Yeah.
But if you can imagine that was the end of Ian Hart's career anyway. He was sort of, in his twilight anyway. He'd already played in the World Cup. I think he got, when Republic of Ireland got through to the last 16, or was it the last 8? Can't remember. It was the 2002 World Cup. So Ian Hart would have played with Matt Holland in the 2002 World Cup. He played for Leeds when Leeds had a really good team with, Alan Smith, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. If you remember that Leeds United team with Lee Bowyer, Nigel Martin. So Ian Hart absolutely cracking player in his day, and we got him at the end of his career. But Eddie Howe obviously brought him in because he was one of those players that could kind of inspire the younger ones to bigger and better things. Yeah,
no, definitely had to be in here. I do remember, I do very, vividly remember when he was at Leeds and playing in those Champions League games and things like that. So a player that's kind of, when I was growing up, was kind of always on, sort of match of the day and Champions League games, and when that used to be on ITV and things like that. So I do remember following Ian's career quite a lot during the early sort of 2000s, late 90s. Right, so let's move on to our number 4 shirt. Another legend of the Republic of Ireland international side, and a player that did have a short spell at Bournemouth on loan, and that is, of course, John O'Shea, who joined Bournemouth on loan from Manchester United, played 10 times in a Bournemouth shirt, scored 1 goal while on loan at Bournemouth, and if memory serves me right, that was at the New Den against Millwall. And Republic of Ireland represented Ireland under many different levels, but under 21s 13 times, scoring 1 goal, and full caps 118 caps, scoring 3 times. And I believe at one point he was the captain of his international side as well, Jonny. But that is some caps tally, that, isn't it? 118.
Yeah, and I think since we started this series, I'm thinking he's the most capped player we've had in any of these cherry picking international squads that we've done so far. So John O'Shea, obviously we only had him on loan, but in those days, Alex Ferguson was firing players out on loan. You'd get the odd player in from a Premier League club when we were in the 3rd tier, and John O'Shea came in, did his thing, and then went on to bigger and better things, which of course was Manchester United, Sunderland, and then later Reading. And also World Cups and Euros. He represented his country on the biggest stage, and I think was actually the captain at one of those tournaments. I would need to check, but he was certainly Republic of Ireland captain.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, he had to be in this selection. Does he make our starting lineup? We just have to wait to the end for that one, but he does make our squad. Now, number 5 is a player that some Cherries fans may remember, and that is Owen Cole. Now, Owen Cole joined Bournemouth from Tottenham youth over a spell from, well, it was mid-90s. I think it was sort of from, 96. I think he joined in the Machen era. Went on to make 24 appearances for Bournemouth. Wasn't ever really a major regular in the side. Used to probably be more on the bench more than anything. Couldn't really ever cement a place down. But don't forget, he was playing in an era when you had the likes of, when he first come in, you'd had defenders like Mark Morris, Eddie Howe was coming through. Ian Cox had been transformed from a centre mid to a centre back. So there was quite a lot of competition at the club when he did arrive. Hence, he only made those number of appearances for Bournemouth. But he did move on, had a very good career throughout the game, notably at Aldershot. He made over 100 appearances for Aldershot. But that's Owen Cole. He was actually, while at Bournemouth, though, capped 3 times for the under-21s. So that's why he's been selected, because he has actually earned caps at a certain level for the Republic of Ireland. But yeah, that's Owen Cole. He's been given our number 5 shirt. So let's have a look at our next choice. And our next choice is someone here that I think you will know a lot about, Jonny. And that is, of course, Sean Mayer.
Yeah, we featured a lot of players from that era and on these squads. Like we've had Warren Feeney, Brian Stock, obviously Steve Foley might even feature later again. But Sean Mayer, just a solid player. No international caps at full level. Probably a lot of competition in those days. for Republic of Ireland. I think they were in the World Cup 2002. They were in a few Euros.
Yeah.
They had, a really good team. Obviously, the likes of John O'Shea was there as well, so he would have kept Sean Mayer out of any possible, call-ups that he would have potentially had. But yeah, we enjoyed watching him at Dean Court, and legacy remains.
Yeah, he was a player that while at Bournemouth, again hampered by a few injuries here and there. To be honest, when I was looking back at Sean Mayer, I didn't realise he made as many appearances for Bournemouth as he did. But yeah, good solid defender. When he was fit, he was definitely someone you wanted as part of your back four. And yeah, like you said, there's a couple of players from Sean Mayer's era that has made this selection, which we shall touch on as we go through. But our number 7 shirt is been given to a former, I think he was described at one point as a Manchester City wonder kid. And that is Donald McDermott. Not many appearances for Cherries again. Had a loan spell for us, I think, under Bradders. Then he was brought to the club permanently around the time sort of when Eddie come back in. And I think his time at Bournemouth kind of sort of come to an end around that time. But yeah, 35 appearances for Bournemouth, 3 goals. But you can see he's been capped at under 17 level, under 18 level, and under 21 level. So a player that had a lot of prospect, I think, internationally and at club level. But unfortunately, in a Bournemouth shirt, I don't think we probably saw the best of him. But he makes our squad, Jonny. Anything you want to add on Donald McDermott?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Man City thing you touched on is normally what happens is if a team wins the FA Youth Cup, they're bigged up, aren't they? So Donald McDermott won the FA Youth Cup with Man City. When that happens, you're seen as like the next big thing. I mean, we know Fergie's fledglings, the Gary Neville, Beckham, Butts, Scholes. That was a genuinely, that was a genuine team that went on to bigger and better things, as European champions, as we know. With Donald for that Man City team, possibly some of the players he played with would have gone on to bigger and better things. But for Donald, just kind of a steady club career, really. No full level caps, but he did have some decent spells at clubs like Chesterfield, Huddersfield, Swindon Town, and Rochdale, where I think he made more appearances than he did at any other club. So Rochdale, probably fans remember Donald McDermott more than we would.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, he's made our squad. Our number 8 is someone who I would say is probably a legend of the game, really. Made a big impact while at Bournemouth. And he's also been given the captain's armband by myself and Jonny on this one. And that is, of course, Matt Holland. Now, Matt Holland joined Bournemouth from West Ham. He was sold to Bournemouth by Harry Redknapp. He came into Bournemouth and made a real good impression. It was around the Great Escape season. I think he had joined initially on loan, and then the following season he signed permanently. He went on to then captain the Bournemouth side until we sold him to Ipswich Town for a fee in the region of 800,000. And around that time, that was when the club needed some real injection of cash. So in some respects, he's one of those players that helped keep the club going at around that time. And but yeah, 116 appearances in a Cherry shirt, 18 goals. Like I said, skippered Bournemouth. He then went on to Ipswich, where he then got promotion to the Premier League. He then obviously represented Charlton as well, and then played for the Republic of Ireland at a World Cup, wasn't it, Jonny, in 2002? 49 full caps, 5 goals, and also has a B cap as well. But Jonny, Matt Holland, I mean, what a player.
Yeah, we have to stick him in. And as you said, he was our captain at Dean Court. He was Ipswich captain. He captained Republic of Ireland when, I think, just maybe when Roy Keane had retired and O'Shea wasn't ready yet. So, yeah, Matt Holland played with the best. If you look at some of the players that he's played with in those eras, both the Keanes, Roy Keane, Robbie Keane, for Republic of Ireland. Obviously, in his club career, he's come from West Ham. He would have played with maybe some. I don't know whether he would have played with Joe Cole or Lampard, or that would have been just before him. But he certainly would have played with a lot of quality players around him. And if you've got a midfielder like that who can create sort of box to box a little bit, it's similar type of player for me to Scott Parker, although Matt Holland would have scored more goals than Scott Parker. So, yeah, and then the World Cup. Republic of Ireland fans will remember him for scoring against Cameroon in the World Cup, but he actually missed a penalty in the shootout as well.
Did he? I don't remember that. Right.
But he wasn't the only one. I think Republic of Ireland missed 2 or 3 penalties in that shootout. So it wasn't like his fault that they went out. It wasn't like a Southgate thing or something like that. It was like he was one of 2 or 3 that missed. And I think that photo actually on the screen is of him after missing the penalty.
Right. Okay. And that was against Cameroon, was it?
No. The goal was against Cameroon. So the Republic of Ireland went through the group. So that they knocked Cameroon out of the group, and then so they went through the group with Germany to the second round, and it was either second round or quarterfinals that they lost to Spain on penalties.
Spain, now I do remember.
Spain knocked them out. Yeah, the Raúl sort of era Spain.
Yeah.
Maybe Iniesta's early days, something that sort of team.
Yeah, no, I do remember now. Now you said that, I do remember. Okay, so that's Matt Holland, like both me and Jonny have just said, had to be in this squad definitely, and class midfielder. Our number 9 shirt then is going to someone that only played on loan at Bournemouth, but his international career kind of swayed the decision to give him the number 9 shirt. And that is, of course, Shane Long. He was also capped at under 19 and 21 levels as well. But 88 full caps he earned, scoring 17 times. And while on loan at Bournemouth from Saints, he played 12 times, scoring 2 goals. Obviously played in that season, Jonny, where unfortunately we didn't get through the playoffs. But obviously now when we look back at history, obviously we got promoted the following season and now have established ourselves back in the Premier League again. But yeah, unlucky at Bournemouth not to progress through the playoffs. But 12 appearances and 2 goals for Bournemouth that year. But, really he's in here for his sort of international recognition.
Yeah, and actually, when you look at the Republic of Ireland players that have played at Dean Court, there are not as many forwards or strikers as maybe in the previous squads that we've done. So obviously to have Shane Long as a number 9, I mean, he is a number 9 there. He is a forward, but he's not what you would have called an out-and-out forward, like the sort of Andy Cole. He wasn't like your Gary Lineker, Andy Cole type of striker. He'd have weighed in with a lot of assists, and a bigger part of his game was not just scoring. And also he's a Gaelic football. He was good at Gaelic football and hurling as well, which are 2 very Irish sports. So sort of a proper Irishman here. You'd need someone like that in the squad to kind of have that real Irish mentality. He played for Cork City in the Republic of Ireland League as well, and has a big fan base back home where he's from.
Yeah. Well, he's got our number 9 shirt. Does he start? Does he make our starting 11? Obviously, just wait until the end and we will reveal all. Our number 10 shirt goes to another player that only played for Bournemouth on loan, and that goes to David McGoldrick, another player that came in and made 12 appearances. His goal ratio slightly better than Shane Long's with 6, and for Republic of Ireland he played 14 times at full international level, scoring once. Jonny, this would have been an era when obviously you were going to the games quite frequently. Do you remember much about David in a Bournemouth shirt?
Yeah, I mean, I saw him a few times. I'd have probably seen him more, on TV or playing for other teams. He's one of because I didn't know he was Irish until he got called up, because I think he had a choice. I think he's born in Nottingham. He had a choice. He could have played for, I believe it's Scotland, England, or Republic of Ireland, and he went for Republic of Ireland. Grandfather, am I thinking? Yes, his grandfather was from the Republic of Ireland. So obviously he got into the squad, scored against Switzerland for the Republic. That's his only international goal, but missed out on the tournament. They didn't include him in the 2016 Euro squad. So a little bit unlucky there to be left out. But Steve Fletcher gave a bit of praise to McGoldrick, saying he's got a quote actually. This guy's got pace. He can get in behind defenders and he can run all day. He's got all the attributes. So if it's coming from Steve Fletcher, you'd have to go with it. Maybe he just didn't live up to the potential that was expected of him.
Yeah, and he's still playing now. I believe he was at.
Oh, is he? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was. He went back to Notts County, and I think he's
yeah.
County. I think he's looking for another club now, or he might have signed for somebody. I'm not too sure. But up until the end of the 24-25 season, yeah, David McGoldrick was still playing. So he has been allocated our number 10 shirt. Now let's have a look at our number 11, who's probably the most recent player to play in a Bournemouth shirt, and that is Robbie Brady. 7 appearances only in a Bournemouth shirt. Coming at a time, Jonny, when the squad was well on its way to promotion. I think he joined us in the January. I think I remember watching him play in the FA Cup game at Yeovil. I remember travelling up to Yeovil to watch the FA Cup game, and I think he played in that game when Maconde scored a hat-trick. But yeah, so I think he was it was a difficult spell for him to actually cement a place in the Bournemouth team. But in terms of his international career, 72 caps, 10 goals, and capped at all levels, you have got, a real international player on your hands with this one.
Yeah, he still plays for Republic of Ireland as well, so potential to make more caps in that level. In fact, in 2025, this year, he's had 4 caps full level. And I don't know whether they're a sub or they're from the start. So he's already played 4 times this year. He scored a very important goal for the Republic of Ireland. I don't know if you remember, Matt. Do you remember any important goals Brady scored for Republic? No?
See if you jog my memory.
Okay. So in Euro 2016, the Republic of Ireland were in a group with Sweden, Italy and Belgium, right? Now, the first match, they drew with Sweden. They drew 1-1 with Sweden. Second match, they lost 3-0 to Belgium. Lukaku destroyed them. So going into the last match, Republic of Ireland were playing Italy. If they drew, they would have been knocked out. Robbie Brady scored a header with 10 minutes to go and they knocked him out. They went through with Italy. So even though Italy lost, Italy also went through. So Brady scored the goal that took Republic of Ireland through to the next round.
Wow. I don't remember that.
2016, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, Robbie Brady, great international career. And like Jonny just said, he's still obviously gaining caps this year. I think he was at Preston North End when I last knew.
Yeah, he's still at Preston. Yeah.
Still at Preston. So, fair play to Robbie Brady, still earning caps. Fair play to him. Like I say, capped at all levels. So, had to be a contender to come into this Cherries Republic of Ireland squad. Let's see who gains the number 12 shirt then. Someone that I think both myself and Jonny were very, very fond of while he was at Bournemouth. And that is Gareth O'Connor. Now, unfortunately for Gareth, like Sean, no caps. But from the Bournemouth perspective, obviously won promotion with us in 2003. Played 174 times, scoring 24 goals. Gareth was always a player, Jonny, that excited me. Always used to like how he used to cut in when he was out wide and and pull himself in to shoot. And I do remember some of his goals being quite memorable as well. But yeah, an excellent player. But do you think for someone like Gareth, who was very talented, and even though playing at the level he was playing at, you still found that players at that level were getting picked for international sides like the Republic of Ireland? Do you think it was because of more of the competition at that time that he had for his position rather than the level he was playing at?
No, I would actually blame the managers of the Republic of Ireland and the coaches at that time for not picking him, because it will remind you of. Do you remember when Steve Bull was picked by England, right?
Yes, yeah.
He was Steve Bull was banging the goals in for Wolves every week. He was clearly the best striker. And Bobby Robson, the England manager, said, "Well, we'll have him. We're taking him." And of course, Bully was good for England and won quite a few caps over a period of years. Gareth O'Connor wasn't allowed that. They didn't give him that chance. And I don't recall who exactly would have been the Republic managers back then. I know David O'Leary was for a bit. I remember Mick McCarthy maybe, but whoever it was, they should have noticed that he was like a Paul Gascoigne type of skillful player like that. He had all that midfield skill, he could turn defenses, cut inside. He had this magic about him, and he'd weigh in with goals. And he worked hard. I don't know why he never got a full cap. It'd be interesting to talk to him and was he ever approached or was there something about it? Because I think he actually might have come over at the same time as Sean Mayer. Was that part of a deal at the time? I know they played in the same team. I seem to remember something about them they were photographed together anyway. I don't know whether that was when they first signed or not.
Yeah, they signed at a similar time. Similar time. I'm trying to think, was it the season when we got relegated? But they signed that season, and then they came down to Division 3 with us when we got promoted. Yeah, they definitely played in the Cardiff. He definitely played in the Cardiff final.
Yeah, that's a photo with that kit from that day.
From that season, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then actually he come back and had another appearance, another little loan spell at Bournemouth as well, to Burnley.
Yeah, he helped us out a bit when we were in trouble, I think, as well. I mean, I also remember there was a playoff push. There was a season where we were smashing teams. We were beating teams for fun. Like we beat Doncaster 5-0. We beat, I think, Port Vale 4-0. And I remember we went away to Bristol City on a Tuesday night, and Bristol City had a great team in those days. And Gareth scored the 2 goals, and we beat them 2-0. One was a fantastic goal. I remember he clipped it into the top corner. It was just cut inside. And that season, we were pushing for the playoffs until we drew with Hartlepool, if you remember, on the last day. So yes. Gareth could have stayed otherwise, and then ended up going to Burnley, didn't they? Burnley bought him because of that.
Yeah, and you can see why Burnley were attracted to him because like we say, Gaza like quality that he did have. But that's our number 12 shirt, and that goes to Gareth O'Connor. Okay, so let's take a look at who gets our number 13 shirt, and that is a player that's played for Bournemouth on, well, a couple of different occasions, and that is Mark O'Connor. So Mark O'Connor will, Cherries fans from the late 80s would definitely remember Mark. He also had a spell back at Bournemouth in the sort of mid-90s around the Great Escape season. And he played 219 times, as you can see there, for Bournemouth, scoring 15 goals, and was capped by Republic of Ireland at under 21 level. Now, he's started his career at Queen's Park Rangers and had a spell at Exeter and Bristol Rovers as well. And then when he came to Bournemouth in 1985, he then obviously was at the club through Redknapp's era, obviously the third division promotion season. And then he joined Gillingham and then come back to Bournemouth before going back to Gillingham again. And throughout the rest of his football career, after he finished playing, spent quite a bit of time with Tony Pulis as part of Tony Pulis's coaching staff. Mark O'Connor, Jonny, is probably a little bit before your time, Mark O'Connor, I would imagine.
Yeah, nice the way he went and came back. We have a few players like that. I'm thinking of players like the Gareth O'Connor that you mentioned. Alan Connell did it, went and came back. Fletch went and came back. Jermaine Defoe went and came back. So a player with a double spell, always like a little bit of kind of, it's nice to get them back, whether or not they're the same player they were than the first spell. I mean, Mark O'Connor's record speaks for himself. The first time he played for us in the 80s, he was a regular on the team, one of the first names on the team sheet. he got promoted. He's got a 3rd Division Championship medal from his times at Dean Court in that fantastic team that we had in the 80s. And then he's came back and he cemented his position in the team again. And then left us just at the end of the Great Escape, 95. And then, as you said, still, does a bit of work with Poulos. And looks like a guy that has been around, knows a lot about the game, and arguably should have maybe been given a full cap as well. But competition in those days was pretty tough as a Republic of Ireland midfielder, like Ray Houghton and Kevin Sheedy and all that. That was a fantastic midfield they had. Quite difficult to break into, I would imagine.
Yeah, and he's also experienced a few promotions as well. So obviously at Bournemouth, he was promoted from the 3rd Division to the 2nd. When he went to Gillingham, he was promoted from the 4th Division to the 3rd. And then when he went back to Gillingham, he was then promoted again from the 3rd Division to the 2nd Division. So a man that's earned a few promotions as well. So that's always good experience to have in a squad. So Mark O'Connor gets our number 13 shirt. And our number 14 shirt actually is a very interesting player as well. Similar era to Mark, an FA Cup finalist. And that is Gary Howlett. Now, Gary, Jonny, I'm going to let you take this one away because from the research I've done on him, seemed to have had a bit of an injury hit career, but still managed to turn out 60 times for Bournemouth. But this was a player that did play in an FA Cup final, and if I believe from what you're telling me, also created an assist in the final.
Yep, quite a funny one actually, because he played in 2 FA Cup finals, but they were both in the same year because in those days we had replays. So he was at Brighton and Hove Albion from 19. I think it's about 1980 to 1984. Now, Brighton in those days, they weren't like one of the top 10 clubs in the country as they possibly are now, but they were in the top 25 in England. And when they got to the cup final, it was seen as a bit of a shock at the time. They played Man United in the final, and he set up one of the goals, crossed it in. So Gary Howlett set up one of the goals in the final. Brighton drew 2-2 with Man United. And then the replay was a step too far for them. Man United smashed them 4-0 in the replay, unfortunately. But, so Gary Howlett, that experience playing at Wembley, obviously being capped by Republic of Ireland full level, playing in front of the Irish crowd. He played in the Northern Irish League as well as the Republic of Ireland League. He played for Crusaders and I think might have won the league in Northern Ireland when he was there as well. Definitely a bit of a journeyman. Great career, really. But as you said, the injuries might have affected whether he was the same level every time he came back or not.
Yeah, he's also currently a manager as well. Is it Killester United?
Oh, I want to check that. Yeah, it is Killester. I actually don't know them. So they're maybe in the 3rd or 4th tier of Republic of Ireland League, but
Leinster Senior League.
Yeah, that's more like a Conference South or Conference North level or something for Republic of Ireland,
Yes,
so
it's kind of like a pool town level.
But grassroots, let's say grassroots football.
Grassroots.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so that is Gary Howlett. Like I was just saying, it was very interesting to learn a bit about him because.
And shout out to the shirt he's wearing, the Cooper's Beers. What an iconic classic.
Yes.
Cherry shirt that is.
Made by Henson, if I remember
right. Yeah, that's a rare one. Have you got that one, Matt?
No, I haven't. But when I was at school, one of my friends had the shirt. I think he had a couple of brothers, and I think as one brother out of it, they passed the shirt down, and they had it, and it even had the Cooper beers on it. I remember the badge being quite high up, swollen, high up nearer the shoulder blade. But I personally didn't have that one. But a friend of mine had it passed down to him by his brothers. So I think before, I think that was kind of before football shirts became, big business like they are.
That was just on the on the edge of it, wasn't it? I think that would have been just after George Best because that sort of Harry Redknapp era was possibly the first time where we had sponsors on the shirts.
Yeah, before Cooper's Beers, we had Reg Haynes Toyota that sponsored us. I can't remember who. There might have been something before that. But when Bestie played for us, that shirt was sponsorless that year.
Yeah, it was no sponsor on it. Yeah, and it was just
Sponsored.
red as well. It wasn't red and black
Red,
stripes.
and it didn't have the traditional badge either. It had the
Cherries.
badge
Actually
and
had the actual cherries on it. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, great era of football shirts, and I keep saying I'm going to do a show on football shirts, and I just haven't got around to it yet. But hopefully one day I will. But yeah, iconic shirts. There's nothing quite like the '80s football shirts, and the shorts being as short as they were. But our number 15 is probably the most well, would I say retro player of them all? And that is Terry Murray. Now, Terry Murray, 13 appearances in a Bournemouth shirt, scoring 1 goal. He was a winger, and he had 1 full cap. And as we've discussed earlier, and Johnny's already previously explained how the League of Ireland Select 11 works, and he played for them 6 times. So yeah, he's somebody that I don't obviously know too much about. Johnny, have you got anything on any of your research on this one?
Just a little bit of an interesting one, because he started playing football just after the Second World War. So it was a time when, maybe the footballers had a job as well, so he was working and he was playing football. And also there weren't as many international games back then. His only cap for the Republic of Ireland was against Belgium in 1950. Yeah, and also interestingly is he also represented when he represented the English Football League as well. At one point he was chosen. He represented the Irish League, and he actually played for the Irish League against the West German League, which doesn't even sound like a thing would happen these days, so bygone era there. Imagine that, getting the Irish League to play against the Bundesliga top 11 v11. It's a weird thing to think of that now, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's what was I suppose described as a bygone era now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it would be interesting how that would work out in this day and age. But yeah, Terry Murray. When did he start his career? Sorry, Johnny.
1948, but he was born in 1928, so he'd have grown up through the Second World War happening. So born in 1928, so he'd have been 11 when the Second World War started. He'd have been 11. So as a teenager, that's quite a tough upbringing to go through that, and then the irony to play against a West German team later as representative. So must have some stories. But he passed away, died in 2017. So.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, the late Terry Murray there, makes that squad, and has our number 15 shirt. Now, our number 16 shirt is going to someone who is very popular. There's been a lot of debate about him on this channel recently. Should he be number 1? Should he move on and progress his career elsewhere? But that is Mark Travers. Now, Mark Travers, 82 appearances in a Bournemouth shirt. He's represented the Republic of Ireland at under 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 21 level. And he currently only has 4 caps, but he has had some decent competition since he broke into the Republic of Ireland senior squad. I would say that is probably why he has only got the 4 caps, Johnny. He has had some good competition for that goalkeeper's position, one of them being Darren Randolph, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, ironically,
ironically, who was our 3rd choice goalkeeper at one point at Bournemouth towards the end of his career. And obviously now you've got Keller, who's now moved from Liverpool to Brentford to become a number 1. Has to be in this squad for me. I'm a fan of Mark. I really am. I think he's a great shot stopper. I mean, we briefly spoke before we came on air about the Villa game last season and the Man City game last season, where he was absolutely fantastic. for you, Jonny, is Mark your number one for Bournemouth?
I thought he was going to be the next big thing. Do you remember the Spurs game years ago when
Yes,
I think we had Boric and Begovic at the time, and Travers was third choice. I could be wrong there, but Travers was certainly second or third choice, and we just threw him in against Tottenham at home, man of the match performance, and we beat them 1-0. And I think Ake scored or Steve Cook, don't remember. And Travers was fantastic, and I thought, wow, this is the next big thing. But he never really broke into our first team because goalkeepers have come and went. I mean, in the last 10 years, we must have gone through 15 different keepers coming and going, if you look at it.
Yeah, there's been some goalkeepers. I think when he actually made his debut for Tottenham, I think you're right. I think Begovic was out on... I think Begovic might have been out on loan.
Well, it would have been Boric and Federici then. It might have been.
Yeah, I'm trying to think he was there. You're right. There's been so many goalkeepers, but I think he might have been. Yeah, he definitely was third choice. I think when he made his debut for Bournemouth, and back then he played an absolute blinder. I remember him obviously keeping the likes of Song and I think it was Kane playing that day.
I don't remember who played, but I remember that Spurs had a man sent off and we beat them 1-0. I think it was the first time we'd ever beaten them in our history as well.
Ake scored the winner.
Yeah, it was Ake. Yeah, I mean, that was a great team we had under Eddie Howe at the time. I think Ramsdale must have kept him out the season after that then. I'm sure Ramsdale would have been the number one just after Boric had gone. So
that's right. I think actually Boric playing understudy to Ramsdale then.
Oh, did he? Yeah, for a while. Yeah, it must have been for a bit. Yeah.
Season, he played because for some reason I remember Travers playing the cup games that season. Boric didn't actually play that season. I think he was just backup in his last season at Bournemouth. I might be right. I might be wrong. I don't know. If I'm right, if I'm wrong, please correct me in the chat. If you
yeah, I mean, goalkeepers are a tricky subject for us because we've gone through so many. I mean, even in the last 2 seasons, but mixing between Travers and Neto, and then Kepa come in, and Paulson's gone to New Zealand and he's come back, and Will Dennis is always hanging around. So, he needs to cement himself a place in the team. Like, if he gets into the team and starts keeping clean sheets every week, the manager should not be able to drop him. So maybe Iraola will give him another chance to do that. Whether it's in a cup match or a league match, we don't know. Because until the new season starts, Matt, we don't even know who our first choice keeper is going to be.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally agree. Does Mark make the starting lineup for us? Stay tuned and you will find out. Next player is someone who I would describe as a fringe player. He's gone on to play the majority of games last season for Swindon Town, and that is Gavin Kilkenny. 25 appearances for Bournemouth all in all. But for Republic of Ireland, he's played 3 times for the under-18s and 20 times for the under-21s. Jonny, Gavin Kilkenny, I think he's now found his level, I would probably say, where he will get regular first-team football. When he first come to Bournemouth, I do remember him playing a couple of friendlies and thinking he looked pretty decent. I thought he was definitely going to be one that may have broke into the team eventually, but unfortunately never seemed to really be able to cement himself a permanent position in our midfield. But definitely a good selection for a backup player in this squad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sticking him in the squad just because of his name anyway. I mean, not only is Kilkenny, a county in Ireland, but it's also a city and it's also a drink, of course, yeah. So if you're talking about Daisy O'Brien's or Cherry O'Brien's, go in and find Gavin Kilkenny, hopefully not at the bar with George Best, but Kilkenny, didn't quite break into the team the way we had hoped. And I guess, is he at Swindon?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, good luck to him. And maybe he'll get a full cap at some point. Maybe he'll even, make up the level back to the Premier League at some point. Who knows what will happen with Gavin? But certainly 25 appearances for us and moved on, and that's it.
Yeah, and like you say, I mean, sometimes you look at Matt Holland. He had to take a drop down, and then eventually worked his way back up to the top. So who knows, that may well happen with Gavin Kilkenny. But yeah, he's made our squad. He takes our number 17 shirt, and our number 18 shirt goes to Leon Best. Again, another lone striker, and again another lone striker who we had at the time from Saints. 17 appearances for Bournemouth, scoring 3 times. He had 7 full caps for Republic of Ireland, and he scored at under 19 level. Again, another player who we'd probably put in really, Jonny, as more probably a backup choice.
Yes, I would say he, you know what I mean? He's a player that I don't know if any clubs would actually rave that much about him. Maybe like Newcastle and Coventry when he was there, but I mean, like, he's put the ball in the net for us 3 times when we were, not having the best of, let's say, that era. Was it Kevin Bond, wasn't it? It wouldn't have been the best era for the club. Yeah, not a superstar for me, but put him in the squad, of course, for Republic of Ireland Cherries. Yeah,
definitely a backup choice, this one. But let's move on to our number 19, because some Cherries may remember and may not, and that's JJ Milligan. He actually was playing for Wolves when he joined Bournemouth on loan. Now he was spotted playing for a club called Home Farm Club, Jonny, in Dublin.
Home Farm, actually quite famous club back in Ireland, and it's not even a joke with the name, because the club probably actually started as a home farm. So yeah, he obviously very, very Irish guy here we're looking at. I mean, JJ Milligan also to me sounds like a pub. And also his names are John Joseph. So the JJ nickname, John Joseph from Dublin. Or actually, he is from Dublin. He's from Dublin. So played a bit in the Irish League as well with Dundalk there. Obviously, plied his trade a little bit with Wolves. Didn't quite make it into the squad for Wolves. Cheltenham Town, he spent quite a few seasons there, I believe. And for us, a fringe player that we had as a loanee, but not one that everyone will remember, but certainly worth considering for his Irish heritage anyway. Is certainly you would not question his ability to fight for his country, probably, with his background, etc.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look over his career, he obviously, like we said, he was at Wolves. Only made a couple of first-team appearances for Wolves, but then had loan spells with, Bournemouth. Kidderminster Harriers, he actually had 2 loan spells with. Doncaster as well, I believe. And then he kind of made himself at home at Cheltenham and Leyton Orient, playing quite a lot of games for those 2 clubs as well. He actually played for Cheltenham on 2 occasions, and then obviously, like you said, played back home in the Irish League. So, but yeah, Home Farm Club in Dublin. Is that kind of like there's a famous like youth football club up in Newcastle, isn't it? Is it like the Gateshead Boys or something? Like Michael Carrick.
Wall's
End. Is that similar with Home Farm? Is it kind of like well known for recruiting professionals?
I mean, the thing with Ireland is it's not quite as specific to parts as that, because I mean, like, Roy Keane came from Cove in the south, which is where Cork is.
Right.
Packy Bonner came from Donegal. But Robbie Keane came from Dublin. I believe Niall Quinn came from Dublin. So certainly the Dublin's boys clubs would have had a big influence. But remember, Gaelic is a massive sport there. So it's possible that some of the guys started as Gaelic players and they then moved into football, or as many people call it, soccer, actually, in the Republic of Ireland. So I'm not sure whether Home Farm is the sort of academy equivalent of the Wall's End, or or even
Right.
the Man United academies, but it's certainly it's known in Ireland as a famous club, but not one that you'd see in the European competitions. You're more likely to get Shelbourne Bohemians and Shamrock Rovers,
Yeah.
Sligo Rovers, Derry City. They're the teams that get into Europe normally.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, our number 20 shirt is going to a very interesting player. Again, another. I think the theme with this one, Jonny, is that the majority of our strikers, if not all of them, have only played on loan at Bournemouth. And as well as this guy who has our number 20 shirt, which is Don Givens. I'll make this one quite big because he might not jog too many people's memory. But I think you've got to go back to sort of the late 70s for when he played for Bournemouth. Played 5 times, scoring 4 goals on loan from Birmingham City. But we've selected him not only for his goal ratio while on loan at Bournemouth, but also for his 56 caps and his 19 goals return at full international level. And not only that, he's also got quite a few interesting facts, this one, Jonny, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, this guy is absolutely a legend in Republic of Ireland. His first cap was in the 60s and his last cap was in the 80s. So big longevity for him. Don Givens, I mean, played at Man United. He played in the same team as George Best and Bobby Charlton, actually, at Man United. And then he ended up with quite a few other English clubs, the likes of Birmingham City, as you mentioned. QPR is quite a big, figure there in their 70s team, which was a good side. And then after Cherries' loan spell, he ended up at Sheffield United. And then he played club football in Switzerland, I believe, for a while as well. Big journeyman. I'm just wondering, major tournament for his country? No, because Republic of Ireland didn't qualify for anything in those days. So he wouldn't have been at a major tournament, but certainly with 19 international goals, that's a good innings. That's a good ratio actually for that era, because there weren't a lot of big matches back then, and there weren't a lot of San Marinos or Andorras to bag the goals against, like the way Harry Kane and Cristiano Ronaldo just get hat tricks against these city nations, if you like. So Don Givens. But what a career at the Cherries. 5 appearances and 4 goals. I mean, can we get many strikers on that level?
What's this?
Almost a goal a game. That's the sort of players. Can we sign him?
It'd be great to sign someone of that sort of goal scoring ratio now, wouldn't it? I mean, he also, Jonny, went on and had a fairly decent coaching career as well. I mean, he coached at Arsenal and he was the Ireland under-21s manager, so he would have been responsible for selecting some of these in our squad from 2000 to 2010. And in between that, during 2002 and then for 2007 and 2008, he was actually the caretaker manager for the full Republic of Ireland side. So this guy's probably responsible for selecting some of these players that have got caps in our team today.
Yeah, he probably should have chosen Gareth O'Connor. So
there you go. This is probably the man we need to speak to.
Yeah, we'll have to find out why did Gareth O'Connor not get a cap full level.
Yeah, well, this is probably the man to ask. But yeah, like me and Jonny just said, excellent goal scoring ratio. I mean, definitely for the Cherries, and also not a bad return at international level, and is a Republic of Ireland hero. So had to be in our squad. And our number 21 shirt has gone to someone who only ever made 1 appearance with Bournemouth, was quite highly regarded within the youth setup at Dean Court, and that is Ben Greenwood, who comes in as a fullback for us. He was actually called up to the under-19 squad, but I'm not too sure if he actually made any appearances for us for the Republic of Ireland at that level. From the research I did, I don't think he did, but he's been playing his trade now in the non-league. He's been playing Weymouth last season, where he played 32 times, scoring twice.
Warren Feeney was the manager of Weymouth last season, so he probably played under Warren Feeney then.
Yeah, he did. He did play under Warren last season. Is he still at Weymouth? Oh no, it says to leave Weymouth. So it looks like his contract expires on the 30th of June. So yeah, it would have expired by the time this show goes out, unless he's been re-signed by Weymouth before then or after. Sometimes in non-league contracts expire, don't they, and then they re-sign later on. But yeah, that's where he was last season. So he was playing under Warren Feeney last season for Weymouth, but he makes our squad. Let's have a look at our number 22 shirt. Jonny, someone I think we can speak about for quite a while on this one, who is a legend of the club from sort of 10 years ago, and for our first stint in the Premier League. And of course, that is Harry Arter.
Number 8.
Number 8, Harry Arter.
Yeah.
But gets our number 22 shirt, Jonny. I mean, 255 appearances, 29 goals in a Cherry shirt. Just under 20 caps at full level. I think he did play for maybe under 21s as well, I think. But yeah, what a player in the club's history, Jonny.
Yeah, played for us in, 3 divisions, went up with us twice. I mean, scored goals, I think, on both the times we got promoted. I believe he scored against Carlisle the day that we came up from
yes, he did. Yeah.
Was it a 3-1 win? I'm trying to recall. The day we beat Carlisle, and then I think Doncaster played Brentford or something. It was the same day, wasn't it? Or was it Hartlepool or Huddersfield? Whatever happened, we got promoted that day.
Yeah.
And we had Tranmere in the last game. But Harry Arter took us up. We came up with that team, and then 2 seasons in the Championship, and we're up in the top flight for the first time ever. And I think I remember some of his goals, just edge of the box sort of goals he would score. Him and Matt Ritchie, Mark Pugh, what a midfield. Gosling, Sermon. We had such a midfield at that time, that you could trust those boys every week just to go out and give their all. And then with Harry, I guess he got a few injuries in the Premier League, didn't he? So he he's a bit unlucky in the way he left us. But obviously he's full caps for the Republic. I think born in England, but qualifies for Republic of Ireland. And been through a lot in his life and his career as well, of course, off the pitch, and just a good lad, that you'd want on your team to kind of fight and have a bit of class, bit of skill at the edge of the box to pull a goal out of nowhere, really.
Yeah, and he's obviously was part of the TST squad with some, other Cherries heroes from the similar era, like Sermon, who we just mentioned, Tommy Elflick, and other, Cherries heroes from over the years. And he's still playing. He's playing now in Dubai in the UAE Second Division League. And he's playing for a team called Precision. And he's playing with Ravel Morrison. So Ravel Morrison was a extremely talented player at Man United, wasn't he? And has had a quite a varied career. He's also playing with him out in Dubai. So Harry Arter is still playing, but yeah, will always be remembered for the promotions he's had at Bournemouth. I will always remember his goal at Watford. I remember he scored in the Championship. The season we went up, I think we had the white kit on, and he scored an absolute belter at Watford. That goal always sticks in my memory. But yeah, Harry Arter had to be in the squad. Our number 23 shirt goes to a goalkeeper who spent a spell on loan at Bournemouth, and that's David Ford. 24 caps for Ireland, Jonny, which I think is quite impressive, actually, because he would have been competing with the likes of, Shay Given, I'm sure. Darren Randolph would have been in around that time. So he would have been up against, some good, decent goalkeepers.
Yeah, and he went to a major tournament let me just check if he was at 2 major tournaments. He was at Euro 2012. He was in the squad. And yeah, as you said, the other keepers that Republic of Ireland had back then were Given and Kieran Westwood as well. So David Ford would have been second or third down the pecking order. He would save the odd penalty. I don't know whether I'm remembering him from doing that at Dean Court or whether it was at Millwall. Did he save any penalties for us? Must have been at Millwall. I seem to remember him diving and save.
I've got a funny feeling he may have done, I think he came in at Bournemouth kind of around the time when I think Begovic was on loan, came in at loan and then went out. And I can't remember whether he came in before or after Begovic. I think it might have been after Begovic. I think
I've just checked it. It's he had a reputation for saving penalties at Millwall. This is where I got it from. And he saved from Jermaine Beckford in the League One playoff semi-final. He saved a penalty, and that save put Millwall into the playoff final, and then Millwall went up to the second tier from So he was involved in promotion in his time at Millwall, where he made over 300 appearances for them.
Okay.
And then he retired, I think, when he just after his time at Cambridge United. Yeah, he retired from Cambridge.
Okay. So he finished his career at Cambridge. Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I do remember him. I do remember him coming in, and he's I can't remember who he came on loan from. I'm trying.
I have to check. I'm going to check that as well. Actually, was it? Well, he was at Cardiff then. Okay, I didn't quite remember that he was at Cardiff actually. We got him in from Cardiff then.
Well, he's recently been on a podcast called Under the Cosh.
Yeah, I've seen that. I haven't seen his one, but I've seen Under the Cosh a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, well, his interview on there, I haven't finished watching it all, but what I've seen of it, it's a great interview. I must finish watching it. So yeah, if you haven't checked that one out, jump over to Under the Cosh and check out David Ford's. They got loads of great interviews on there. They got them with Pulis is on there as well. I mean, they do excellent interviews, a really good podcast. So yeah, David Ford is on there, and what I've seen of it so far, it's a really good interview with him. Let's see who's got our number 24 shirt, and that's another loan player, believe it or not, and that goes to Alex Pearce. Now, 12 appearances for Bournemouth, but quite a good ratio for goal scoring for a centre back, Jonny. 9 caps and 2 goals. But Alex Pearce. Remember, we got him in on loan during the Bondi era. The Kevin Bond era, should I say? On loan from Reading, came in. Looked a decent youngster, to be fair. But yeah, I think he had quite a long career at Reading, and then he's played for several other teams as well in the EFL. I don't think he ever made it in the Premier, I don't think. I might be wrong there. But I would say a good solid backup defender. Yeah,
Pearce, a lot of these guys, they were kind of brief time at the Cherries, so we wouldn't remember them that much, from their time at Dean Court. But then when you look back at their career, you're like, oh, that guy was at that club. And so Alex Pearce obviously has quite a good international record there for a defender, 9 caps, 2 goals. Maybe you could even argue he could have had more caps.
But
that sort of era when I was watching, the Cherries every week, that we had players like that coming and going all the time. You'd have players like, I don't know, like Matt Mills would come in and disappear, and you'd get, John Spicer would come in for a bit, and a lot of players like that. So Pearce was one I remember just very briefly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think around the same time, I think we had 2 on loan from Reading at the same time. Him and I think there was 3 loan players. There was Alex Pearce. Is it Jem Caracan?
Oh, Caracan, yeah.
Yeah, he was on loan.
James Henry.
James Henry, those 3.
Henry,
didn't James Henry come from Wolves? I think.
You got me thinking back to that era.
So there was three. I know we had quite a few loan players. You are right. There were so many loan players around that time, and I think
we didn't have any money. The club
no,
had no money, so
I think there was quite a few injuries as well.
Yeah.
And obviously these guys were being drafted in, as youngsters. Ryan Bertrand, that was another player around that time that come in and on loan from Chelsea, I think. So yeah, a lot of that spell. You're definitely right. So many loan players, it's probably hard to keep up with them all. Max Gradle from Leicester at the time. Yeah, a lot of loan players. Right, a number 25 shirt. This is quite interesting from an international perspective, actually, Jonny, and I'll ask you about it in a second. But Steve Foley. Now, I couldn't find any cap information on Steve Foley, but 53 appearances for Bournemouth, scoring 6 times. I do remember him coming on loan initially from Villa, and then we signed him permanently. But he was actually under 16 international player of the year. So he must have made some cap at kind of schoolboy level.
Yeah. I mean, proper Republic of Ireland guy, born there.
Yes.
Grew up there. Schoolboy, played at schoolboy level. Again, there's not a lot of stats on him. And the name is also quite Irish, which is quite ironic with the word Foley now. I mean, if Bill Foley's watching, so to have Steve Foley here it's a very Irish thing to have a name like that. But also, he won the FA Youth Cup as well with Aston Villa.
Yes, he did, didn't he? He did.
Yes, I think. Do we have earlier? We spoke about. I've forgotten who are we talking about? Who won the FA Youth Cup?
Won it as well, didn't
Donald
he?
McDermott. Yeah, he won it with Man City, didn't he? And Steve Foley won it with Aston Villa. So we had him. I was actually at a match at Southend United away, Roots Hall. I remember it very vividly because it was New Year's Eve. Everyone was having a bit of a party atmosphere. We went to Southend away, and everyone was expecting that we would win, be an away win. Foley scored our equaliser, and then Southend beat us, and of course won the league that year. Southend ended up going up. They had like Freddie Eastwood. So my memory of Foley is we all went nuts when the goal went in. It was one of those you had to be there because it was New Year's Eve. If you can imagine that, it's like atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah, an interesting player. I think another one that may have got a few injuries as well. I think there's so many injuries around that time.
He retired early, and he ended up back in Dublin running a fitness centre.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that away shirt there is one of my favourite Bournemouth away shirts of all time. I love that shirt. Let's see who makes the final place in our squad. Again, will be familiar to Cherries fans if you go back sort of Tony Pulis era, Mel Machin era, and that is Michael
I can do it.
Go on then.
Michael McElhatton. Yeah. Again, we've actually picked a very, very Irish squad here because the names are very Irish.
Yes.
This lad, nice kit there, the Lecoq Sportif kit. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a great shirt.
And yeah, quite a lot of appearances for us for Republic, just schoolboy level. Do you remember him playing, Matt? Do you?
Yeah, no, I do remember because obviously around, that's kind of the era I started, watching Bournemouth. He was always on always, I would say always kind of on the fringes. Sort of got a bit of a run in the team every now and then, but yeah, substitute appearances on the bench. Broke through into the first team, I think, under Pulis. But had a very good career at Russian and Diamonds. I think that's where he made most of his career appearances, even playing against Bournemouth, if memory serves me right.
He took them up. He was there when Rushton and Diamonds went from non-league to football league.
Right.
So
Okay.
he's a conference winner. He won the conference, as it was called then, I would imagine, National League, whatever they call it now. But
Right. Okay.
yeah, so I mean, that's a good accolade to have in your career. But of course, the main thing for professionals in those days was to play in the top 4 divisions. The 5th division always felt a little bit like you haven't quite made it. But he did make it, of course, because he played in the top 4 tiers.
Well, yeah, he did, and also represented obviously Republic of Ireland at schoolboy level. But he makes our squad of 26. Now that's our squad, Jonny. We're going to have to now obviously reveal who our manager is. And
that's easy. That's an easy one, isn't it?
Well, it is an easy one, but there might be an argument whether he should have been in the squad or not. But, if you think he should have been in the squad, pop it in the comments. But me and Jonny think he's the ideal candidate to be the manager. And that is, of course, the one and only Sean O'Driscoll. Obviously, the Bournemouth legend played over 420 times for Dean Court outfit and managed the Cherries to win in the 2003 playoff final. Played 3 times for the Republic of Ireland under-21s and won 3 full caps between 1982 and 1983. A highly respected coach in the game and has managed Doncaster, Crawley, Nottingham Forest, as well as England under-19s, which makes him the perfect gaffer for our Republic of Ireland squad. Well, that's what me and Jonny think. I mean, there's no one else that we could have really picked as manager, is there, Jonny? To be fair.
Absolutely. I'll raise a glass, a bottle to Sean O'Driscoll. Obviously, the playoff final, a great moment for Cherries fans. And actually, this, if you have a look at this bottle, it's a cherry ale, but it's actually a Polish Książęcia from Poland cherry ale. So raise that for our manager, because if you're managing an Irish team, you got to have a bit of crack, and it's fair enough to have a drink if you've had a good victory. So O'Driscoll, on and off the pitch, Cherries legend. One day we will see him smile. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Or noisy, as they used to nickname him, because it's so quiet. So yeah, do you agree on our gaffer?
It has to be. Yeah, it has to be.
If you don't agree with us, pop it in the comments and tell us who you would have picked. But I'm pretty certain myself and Jonny have made the right decision on this one. So that now leaves one thing only, and that is to reveal who myself and Jonny have agreed on to be in our starting 11. Again, if you disagree, please let us know in the comments. And this is our starting 11. So myself and Jonny believe that Sean O'Driscoll, if he was head coach of this team of ex-Cherries Republic of Ireland players, would pick the following. Probably go with a 4-4-2 and start with Travers in goal. And then we'd have a back 4, which would consist of our right back, Dave Langan. Our defensive partnership would be Sean Mayer and John O'Shea, and Ian Hart making up the left back role. The midfield, for me, I think it was quite an easy choice. Obviously, Gareth O'Connor goes in there, who's a player that both myself and Jonny rate really highly. Matt Holland is our skipper. He comes in and partners Harry Arter in the midfield. I'd love to have seen those two play together, actually, Jonny. I think they've been very good together. And Robbie Brady comes in and makes up the midfield. And then up front, we've gone with Shane Long and Republic of Ireland legend Givens will partner Long up front. And there you can see the rest of the squad that would make up our bench on the other side there. Unfortunately, I'm sure there's some people, some Cherries fans saying, how can you pick Travers over Peyton? Totally get that. But I think, myself and Jonny have agreed correctly on this lineup. But if anyone wants to, put your opinions across, please do in the comments below. But Jonny, that kind of brings us to the end of another cherry picking special. Brings us to the close of our Cherry O'Briens. But we're going to be back again, aren't we? Probably sort of, maybe I would say late August time with our next one.
Yeah, I think we're working our way around the different countries, internationals that have played at Dean Court, and there'll be a few surprises out there. There'll be players that some of our fans will have forgotten. There will be players that some of our fans didn't even know were at Dean Court, and even some players that we've had pass through our ranks, and people didn't even know they were capped at international level, or which country they were from. So there'll certainly be a few surprises for the new season with our theme here of cherry picking. The next one, can I reveal who it will be, Matt? The next,
yes, it was you, Jonny. Over to you.
Yeah. So if you look at what we've done Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland, Republic of Ireland. Now, we're not going to do England next because that's too obvious. We're going to leave England for let's say a more significant time for it. So we're going to cross the English Channel from Poole to Cherbourg, and we'll get stuck into the French Cherries next. So we'll see who came from France or Brittany on the ferry into Poole Harbour, into Boscombe and stuck the red and black shirt on. So that'll be the next one. So look out for that.
As Jonny has just said there, we'll be looking at the French players next time. But thank you very much for joining us on this cherry picking special, our Cherry O'Briens. If you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe, and also the notification bar. That way you would never miss any content that comes out on the channel. But for myself and Jonny, it's all that's left to say is thank you for joining us and see you on the next one.
See you later, everyone.
Up the Cherries.
Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.